I loved the fog. It was what I needed. The fog was where I wanted to be. I wanted to be alone with myself in another world where truth is untrue and life can hide from itself. Out beyond the harbor, where the road runs along the beach, I even lost the feeling of being on land. The fog and the sea seemed part of each other. Everything looked and sounded unreal. Nothing was what it is. It was like walking on the bottom of the sea, as if I had drowned long ago, as if I was a ghost belonging to the fog, and the fog was the ghost of the sea. It felt damned peaceful to be nothing more than a ghost within a ghost. Halfway down the path, you can't see this house. You'd never know it was there.
Even as a young man, Eugene O'Neill felt an affinity for the fog that often blanketed New London, and he took long walks in it, escaping from the confines of his family and from the house in which he spent the summers of his youth. The Monte Cristo Cottage sheltered a secret, a shame, that Eugene and his father and his older brother Jamie did their best to keep hidden from the town. In his autobiographical play, Long Day's Journey into Night, O'Neill makes the fog serve as a symbol of this secret shame. And he's made it serve also as an expression of his own wish to escape from reality, from life as it is.
Who wants to see life as it is if they can help it? It was a great mistake, my being born a man. I would have been much more successful as a seagull or a fish. As it is, I will always be a stranger who never feels at home, who does not really want and is not really wanted, who can never belong, who must always be a little in love with death.
This early death wish, this early desire for oblivion, runs like a tragic theme through O'Neill's plays and through his own life. It may have had its origin in the knowledge that his birth had caused his mother so much pain, for he seemed never able to forget that as a consequence of her labor in giving birth to him, his mother had sought relief in morphine and eventually became addicted to it.
It hides you from the world, and the world from you. You feel that everything has changed, and nothing is what it seemed to be. No one can find you or touch you anymore.
I remember a sweet, strange girl with affectionate, bewildered eyes, as if God had locked her in a dark closet without any explanation.
Mary Ellen Quinlan was a shy girl from a prosperous family. At school at the convent of St. Mary's in Notre Dame, Indiana, she thought of becoming a nun, at the same time that she dreamed of becoming a concert pianist.
That was in the winter of senior year. Then in the spring, something happened to me. Oh yes, I remember. I fell in love with James O'Neill, and I was so happy. for a time. James O'Neill was a dashing matinee idol with his own touring company when he swept the devout Mary Ellen off her feet. Though he had been born the son of miserably poor Irish peasants, he had learned how to use his good looks and golden voice to advantage in the theater, and he was considered by critics and public alike to be one of the most promising actors in America.
I could have been a great Shakespearean actor. I know that. In 1874, when Edwin Booth came to the theater in Chicago where I was leading man, I played Othello to his Iago. And he said to our manager, "That young man is playing Othello better than I ever did." And I was only 27 years old, and I had life where I wanted it.
But life worked out differently from what the gifted young actor expected. A vehicle came along in which he was to tour every winter for the rest of his life. The play was a good melodrama, but
That goddamn play, I bought it for a song. But it ruined me.
That's what made me make up my mind that they would never get me. I determined then that I would never sell out.
Eugene O'Neill was born 5 years after his father started touring in the Count of Monte Cristo. He was born in a Broadway hotel in October of 1888, and he grew up in the wings of theaters, on trains, in dingy dressing rooms, and second-rate hotels.
I can still see my father, dripping with salt and sawdust, climbing on a stool behind the swinging profile of dashing waves. It was then that the calcium lights in the gallery played on his long beard and tattered clothes, as with his arms outstretched he declared,
How I hated that line.
Seeing his father in the same play from the wings night after night had two lasting effects on the young Eugene. He absorbed a feeling for great, raw moments of old-fashioned theatrical excitement, and he came to scorn his father's bargain, his trade-off of talent for money. But I suppose life has made him like that. None of us can help the things life does to us, because they're done before you realize it. And once they're done, they make you do other things, until at last everything comes between you and what you'd like to be, and you've lost your true self forever.
What the hell was it I wanted to buy, I wonder, that was worth sacrificing?
With his money, he bought land, much of it in New London, where the O'Neills spent their summers resting up from the rigors of life on the road. New London at the turn of the century was growing as a seaside resort and attracting many well-to-do families who built their summer cottages along the banks of the Thames River. In 1884, James O'Neill bought up a piece of land along the river as a summer home for his family. It was to be their only home. I've always hated this town and everyone in it. You know that. I never wanted to live here in the first place. But your father liked it and insisted on building this house, and I've had to come here every summer.
well, it's better than spending the summer in a New York hotel, isn't it? And this town's not so bad. I like it well enough. I suppose because it's the only home we've had.
I never felt it was my home. It was wrong from the start. Everything was done in the cheapest way, and your father would never spend the money to make it right. When I was preparing to play the part of the mother in O'Neill's two most autobiographical plays, Our Wilderness and Long Day's Journey into Night, I came to the cottage to see what it was like and to feel what these women went through. I wanted to understand the warm and protective Essie Miller in the nostalgic comedy Our Wilderness, and I wanted to understand the anguished and guilty Mary Tyrone of Long Day's Journey into Night, written, as O'Neill said, in tears and blood, and with pity and forgiveness.
I have never written anything that did not come from some event or impression of my own. But these things develop differently from what you expect.
I tried to go back in time and to experience for myself what Ella O'Neill might have felt as she walked through these rooms when they were filled with sunshine in the morning, as well as when they were darkened by descending shadows in the afternoon. I wanted the feel of the banister under my hand and the doorknob. I wanted to know how it felt to pass through the living room, to ascend these stairs and pace the halls. I wanted to move from room to room.
She used to drift around the house like a ghost. I didn't know what was wrong and kept trying to reach her. Then, one night, she ran out of the house and tried to drown herself in the river. It was right after that Papa and Jamie decided they couldn't hide the secret from me anymore. God, it made everything in life seem rotten.
It was in her long sickness after bringing him into the world that she first took...
I was so healthy before Edmund was born, but bearing him was the last straw. I was so sick afterwards, and then that ignorant quack of a cheap hotel doctor...
Mary, for God's sake, forget the past.
How can I? The past is the present, isn't it? It's the future, too. We all try to lie out of that, but life won't let us.
In his last masterpiece, Long Day's Journey into Night, Eugene O'Neill describes his mother as always moving about the house, above and beyond us, like a ghost haunting the past.
No one can find you or touch you anymore.
The ghost of the penitent Ella O'Neill seems to haunt this house still. Its presence and the presence of the other three O'Neills emanate from the very shadows themselves.
There are memories in every room of this house. And for the visitor who has read the plays and who knows something of the love and the hate and the heartbreak that lives in those plays, the memories seem real. They seem to be your memories, too. The past in this house does not seem so very far away. It reveals itself to you.
Like the veil of things as they seem, drawn back by an unseen hand. For a second, you see, and seeing the secret are the secret. For a second, there is meaning. Then the hand lets the veil fall and you're alone, lost in the fog again.
Although no one lives in this house, it is not empty.
The world is mine.
I wanted to be alone with myself in another world where truth is untrue and life can hide from itself.